Welcome back to JB Reviews. I have the 2024 Mustang and Camaro here, both in convertible form. I want to do a test to see which car can return the best fuel mileage, and we're going to do some acceleration tests. I have a draggy today, so we're going to get actual numbers. Now, I got to give a special shout out to Larry H. Miller, Super Ford here in Salt Lake, and Jerry Seiner Chevrolet here in Salt Lake City as well. If you would like to purchase these cars, they do have quite a few Mustangs available at the Salt Lake City store, and they also have a few Camaros available too, so be sure to reach out to their sales team. Let's go ahead and drive the Mustang first. I'm actually very excited to drive this car. Oh, it's in manual mode. By the way, I just noticed this car does not have paddle shifters like that Camaro does, but it does have a turbocharged engine, so that's gonna be half the battle here. Let's go ahead and discuss this engine, and then I'll show you guys the 0 to 60. Even though this Mustang has the 4-cylinder turbo, this thing puts out some good performance numbers. 315 horsepower that comes on around 5,500 RPMs, and 350 pound-feet of torque that comes on around 3,000 RPMs, which is pretty strong. And I can't wait to see how this shoots to 60. 10-speed transmission. Let's see how it does. Here we go.
30. 60.
That was pretty good, guys. I'm actually impressed with this engine. I was hoping it would end up in the mid-6s, but we are a little bit higher above elevation, so that's going to affect the performance. I can't wait to see how the Camaro does against that. It was what, 7 seconds to 60. The quarter mile, I did not get there because I had to slow down because I was going too high above the speed limit. But apart from that, the 8th mile was 9.94 seconds. That's pretty dang good. 0 to 30 was 2.96, so just under 3 seconds. And overall, like, this car, even though it's not like that, you know, GT or Dark Horse, it's not going to have that kind of performance, but it does still have that fun factor. Like, it handles really well. I didn't see where this car had like any sport modes. Like, I hit the little Mustang icon down below, and I don't see where this car has different drive modes. So for the most part, I do like the way it handles. This car does feel pretty nimble, and if you were to put some stickier tires on it, maybe add a tune to this car, I bet you could probably get into the low 6 seconds to 60. You guys can pretty much see that I have the gauge cluster set up in track mode. They have a few different gauges that you can set up. If you go right here, so it's in track mode. They have sport and normal, and then they have like a calm screen, and then they have a Fox body. Oh, we got to try that out. We got to do that one, right? We have to do that one. I didn't even see that. So this is the Fox body from 87 to 93. That's pretty cool. And you guys see the gauge details, so it gives you like the cylinder head temp, engine oil temp, a lot of great information. This is why I like these types of gauge clusters, because when you have a screen, you can do so much more, you can see so much more. We're at the midpoint right now, so let's go ahead and discuss where we are for fuel economy. Alrighty. So here is where we are. So we're at 21.7, and it's just going to keep going up because we're just coasting up a hill right now. And I don't know if you guys remember from the last video, the MPG on this car was 33 on the highway and about 22 in the city, 26 combined. So that's pretty good. Pretty good. And having this 4-cylinder, you feel like you have power everywhere on the broadband. So even just giving it like maybe 20% throttle just now, it doesn't feel sluggish. Like it just kind of hooks and books. Continental tires is what they're using, and I mean, for this type of power, they're probably adequate. There is a stop-start function right here, and let's see if it comes on. I'm gonna turn down the AC just a little bit because now it's not as hot as it was earlier, so it does not come on. But yeah, I like these Fox body gauges though. That's really cool. We now have to test out the sound in the car. So let's go ahead and do that, especially with this soft top. It's about 67, 68. About 70 next to the window here. Out back. Yeah, it's pretty loud. It's like 70 back there too. So you can hear the truck right here. Has some aggressive tires. All the windows are up right now too, by the way. But yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, it's loud in here. Like, don't get me wrong. But I mean, there seems to be like some extra material right here. So it's not unbearable like it was in the past. Like, I've driven cars in the past and you can almost hear everything like this, like what you're hearing right now. So this car has definitely come a long way for the tops. Something this Mustang has is lane keep assist. So if you start to hit that yellow line, it will pretty much steer you back into your lane. Now, it's not gonna center you, it's just gonna steer you back. So it'll bounce left and right if you allow it to. And the steering on this car is extremely tight. Like, I love the way it feels. And as I said earlier, these seats are pretty dang comfortable. I could take this car on a 6-hour trip if I wanted to. I would never feel fatigue, I don't think. But yeah, let's go ahead and get back to the dealership and I'll show you guys where we end off at. So I'm taking this curve a little bit quicker than normal. And yeah, this car feels really nice. Really nice. Yeah, I wouldn't go this fast in a big truck for sure. By the way, I did find the drive modes, and the car does have sport mode. I apologize, so that was my fault. So what I'll do is this: the car was in normal mode when we did that 0 to 60 run. So what I'll do is I'll just run the Camaro in its normal too. That way it's apples to apples. But I wanted to make that point because I did not see that. Normally they let you see that set up in this screen here, but I didn't see it over there, so it was on the steering wheel the entire time. But hey, I can always redo these tests at a later date, so I can always use a sport mode. We just made it back, and we'll put up alongside these two for both tests. So here's where we are, 26.4. So basically the combined number is what we did, averaged about 50 miles an hour because I did stop like 3 or 4 times. This is including the 0 to 60 run too, by the way. Now we're inside the Camaro. I'm gonna go ahead and set up for the 0 to 60, and we're gonna see how this car does against the Mustang. Let's go ahead and talk about this engine in this Camaro, and then we'll do the footage for the draggy. As far as the Camaro goes, you do have 335 horsepower that comes on around 6,800 RPM, so it's pretty high up there. However, the killer is a 284 pound-feet of torque. That comes on around 5,300 RPM. So this car does have a 10-speed transmission. Let's see how it does compared to the Mustang. You guys ready? Here we go.
30. 60.
I like the V6 better. I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that type of like performance. Now granted, the Mustang still beat it, but I'm actually impressed by the V6. The V6 did better than I expected. Again, we are high above elevation. I want to say it's showing here that we're like 4,200 where we are right now, 4,200 feet above elevation. And we did pretty darn good for a naturally aspirated V6 with only 284 pound-feet of torque. I mean, it does have more horsepower than that Mustang, but I mean, that 3.19 seconds 0 to 30 compared to 2.96. So yeah, I mean, it definitely was down on performance, but the V6 sounded good. surprisingly, it sounded really good coming out of that exhaust. Like I could hear a little bit of noise back there, and the engine sounded strong too. I mean, this car is the same story. I do like that it has the paddle shifters. I normally use paddle shifters when I drive these types of cars. I don't ever use automatic mode because I like to be in my gear that I want to be in, basically. So it doesn't seem. Let me just put it in sport mode right now. So it does increase the RPMs right away. Oh yeah, see. Let me get up to 10th gear again. Yeah, I would drive this car in manual mode. Because it does tighten up the steering. But that Mustang was not in sport mode and it was tight regardless. I feel like the Mustang's a little bit more agile. But this car does have a better factor with the V6 personally. I think the i4 in that Mustang was just, it had no like interaction with me when I was driving the car basically. I don't know how else to put it. It just, I didn't feel anything from that car. This one I feel, I can hear the engine right now. Like it's, I'm pretty much locked in the, I'm locked into 10th gear just now. But yeah, like when you accelerate, it just feels like a more driver-oriented car with the V6 personally. This is where the Mustang wins 100%. I love the Fox body gauges, and the track mode gauges are really nice too, guys. These are just, they're okay. Nothing special here. And I think that overall, this car is just a little less fun inside. Like this car is very plain, like smaller screens, doesn't have heated seats like the Mustang did, and it's more money too. I mean, it's like $3,000 more compared to that Mustang. So there's just a few things missing. The only thing the Mustang didn't have that I would have liked to see was paddle shifters, but apart from that, I think the Mustang just might have this car beat overall for the interior from what I'm seeing here, basically. We just made it to the midpoint. I'm going to go ahead and start downshifting so you guys can see the downshifts from the transmission. See, that's what I like about this, that you don't have to use the brakes as much. Nice downshifts too. We just stopped, we're at 26.5. Now we did kind of go through this light with the Mustang, so we're gonna probably lose a little bit of fuel economy here sitting. Now I don't see that this car has a stop-start function. I see traction control and electronic parking brake, but I don't think this car has that functionality that the Mustang had, which would probably be good in this scenario here. Now let's go ahead and see how loud this interior is. About 69 on the window here. 67 out back. So this car is quieter, and there's actually a truck in front of me that you're probably hearing right now. But yeah, this car is definitely quieter, I can tell right out of the gate. Now, as far as visibility goes, I didn't talk about it in the Mustang. Both cars are about the same. I mean, you're not going to be able to look out back. I mean, even with that glass back there, the back of the car sits high up, so you don't really see. So you have to use your mirrors. And of course, this pillar here is just blocking a lot of what you can see out the back here. I don't see that this car has blind spot monitoring, which would be really nice to have on something like this. But for the most part, I think this car definitely does have a little bit quieter interior. And you have to think about tires too. I mean, the Mustang did have a little bit more tire in terms of the height versus this one. This one has 20-inch wheels, and I believe these are the Goodyears as well. But yeah, this car definitely does feel a little bit quieter. Not on this road right here. This road is really loud. But we'll pretty much check back in when we get back to the dealership. I almost forgot. So this car doesn't have as nice of gauges as that Mustang did, but they do give you a few temperatures that you would like to see. But I like the summary that Ford gave you compared to this car. I figured I'd show you guys go around this curve. Yeah, the Mustang feels a little bit more planted than this one does. It's not bad, but it's definitely lacking in terms of like overall like stability. Just pull back in. Here's the stopping point right here. And oh wow, we're at 28 mpg, 15.1 miles driven. Not bad. So what did you guys think about that video? I thought that the Mustang was the better all-around car, but if I were to do this test over and not do the 0 to 60 run, I bet you the Mustang probably would have won for fuel efficiency. Turbocharged cars are terrible for fuel economy when you're doing hard acceleration. So just keep that in mind if you are trying to save money for fuel efficiency, because turbocharged cars use more fuel when it's under hard acceleration because of that turbocharger. But nevertheless, I feel like the Mustang felt better on the road for me. I like that more aggressive handling that it had. It's a little bit stiffer, I think. I think the Camaro was a little bit softer overall, and I probably would prefer a little stiffer car, you know. So hope you guys like the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I may try to do more videos like this in the future, so yeah, if you support this type of content, I'll start doing more of it. See you guys soon.